Hello, this is Rocky Patel here with Pranic Lifestyle and the PL 2020 or the Pranic Lifestyle 2020. And we're launching our new course here and our book, Living the Pranic Lifestyle, which should be out very soon. Just working on the file right now. And we're going to be talking about inner peace and how to set up your life to where it's less stress-free and where you can, basically attract more clients, attract more money. And, one of the things we talk about a lot is how do you attract these people? How do you attract the ideal clients? Well, there's something called an avatar, which is basically your ideal customer. Who are they? Who do you want to work with? Who are the people that you don't want to work with? The high maintenance people, the people that complain a lot. Because we all like the clients that are, easy to work with and got a lot of money and all this stuff. But how do you attract these people? We have to craft an offer that people want. And one that might, you're not in love, it's like you might be in love with the product or the offer, but doesn't mean like people are going to buy it. And you have to be like, you can niche down a little bit. You can niche down in a niche, but you don't want to be too broad. Like say if you want to be in the aromatherapy business, you just don't be like, oh, I'm going to be in the aromatherapy business, so we're going to have candles and soap and cream and oil and blends and all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, you can have all that, but are you going to be the best at that? I mean, maybe you could be the best at a skin cream, or you can be the best at oil blends, or the best at candles, or whatever. But remember, whatever you're building now, you want to make it to where you're not a slave to it later. And there's different ways and exit strategies to where, the work can be outsourced, even with candles or creams, or even essential oils. Because typically, like say if somebody was wanting to start an essential oil business, they would just find a farm to get their oil from, or a farm overseas or somewhere. So say they start getting lavender oil in, well, then you got to label it, you got to design a label, then you got to have the inventory, and then you got to bottle it, and then you got to differentiate yourself. Like, oh, how are you different than everybody else? Right? Because you can go to Walmart and buy lavender, or you can go to wherever and buy your lavender all day long. You can buy on Amazon. But are those products the best quality? I mean, they might just be wild crafted, but they're not necessarily organic. And it doesn't always have to be organic. It can be, wild crafted means that, it's grown out in the field, but there's no chemicals. They just don't have the certification. Because typically, the certification costs extra money to get, and the testing. And then so, of course, your product cost is higher. But, to be like an expert in all of those things, the oils, and then like a cream, and then like candle, it's a ton of work, right? And the only way you make money is with sales. You got to have sales. And if you're busy just bottling and making cream, making candles, and making a bunch of stuff, but you're not selling it, then that's that could be an issue. And then later, if you're tied up with like the shipping and the customer service and the tracking, and you can become overwhelmed where 90% of your activity is like the grinding busy work, and the way you make money is in selling. So selling, that requires sales copy, writing emails, writing blog posts, making videos, making a compelling offer, and differentiating why you're stuff is better than everybody else's. Like my lavender oil is like Bulgarian lavender oil that's supercharged. Everybody knows, whether I tell them or not, and people know already, like a lot of Pranic killers, they know when they get stuff from me, it's super energized already and good to go. I mean, it's got a powerful blessing on it, energized, like super powerful. So that's what separates me, like, from my competition. And then you have to decide, like, when you're making your pricing, you have to include future expenses you don't have now. Because you might be like, oh yeah, this lavender oil here, say it cost me, $200 for 16 ounces. And so then you got to calculate the cost. Okay, so typically out of a 16 ounce bottle, I would be able to get 32 half ounce bottles that I sell for 20 or 25. And so what's 32 times 20? 640. So yeah, so about 640. So if I was selling it for $25, I would have about a 3-time markup on the retail, which is okay. It's okay. I mean, typically I like to see more. So like the half ounce, it might be, say, $30 a bottle, which is about the right price for really, really good high-end oil. And we'll go more into oil like later on, how people can get fooled by the cheaper stuff and how it says all natural, but it's there's some trickery going on there. And that's why it's so cheap.
8.9 miles. Keep left onto I-271 North.
We're on the way to our vacation here. So when you're making, let's make sure we're on the right road, okay? You pay attention. Make sure I'm on the right road. I mean, typically the golden rule is like a 10-time markup if you could have it, because what happens is this. Say if I was, okay, turn it down. Say if I was selling lavender oil for $20 a bottle, which would give me that 3-time markup, 3x, barely a 3x, because the $200 doesn't really include the shipping to get the stuff to me, and the bottles and the label.
Then keep left onto I-271 North.
Typically like a label could cost you 50 cents, the bottle 70 cents, less than $1. So the product costs, say it could be like, I don't know, maybe $8 to make that product, and you're selling it for 20. And so say if you're selling it for 20, and then you have somebody who wants to buy wholesale from you. They want to buy cases and resell it. And we do a ton of like wholesaling, private labeling, cases, and even like big, just big drums and stuff. But if they want to buy wholesale and then resell, and then you're only selling at a 3-time markup, there's no room for you to do wholesaling. So you have to decide, like, you want to be just strictly selling one bottle at a time retail, or do you want to have people that are being resellers, which is, brings the bigger money in. But typically, like on a 20% or $20 retail price, if you had a product cost of $8, there's only $12 profit left for you, and then you gotta like give a discount to somebody that wants to buy wholesale, at least a 30%. Typically, I like to have a 30 to 50% markup where they could actually take that bottle of oil and double their money on it. So that's attractive to people, where they can like, oh yeah.
I-271 North.
And so, like, if you're selling it to them for $15 and they're making $5 profit, I mean, they might be cool with that. They might be cool with that.
Drive 5.4 miles on I-271 North.
But if you had the product priced, and that doesn't even include, like, if you have employees and bottling time and insurance, and if you have a building, you have rent, you have taxes, all that stuff is not included. So this is the mistake people make when they launch a business. They're just like, oh yeah, okay, the product cost me this much, you know, all this, double my money on it or triple my money on it, and I'll be happy. But then they realize when the business expands and grows, if it becomes a really big business, well, then you're gonna have like a building and many employees and payroll and taxes and insurance and benefits, and you didn't include that in your $20 price, right? And so now when you sell that bottle of oil for $20, your profit is like a lot smaller. And if you're wholesaling it, I mean, you barely make anything. So ideally on a product, you want to have at least a 6 to 10 time markup. And there is ways to get stuff cheaper. You have to buy in bulk, in drums. That's how you make money in the oil business. You got to buy it in drums. That's how it brings that cost down, and you can make even more money exponentially. And oil blends also are a great way to, you know, there's usually a lot of profit in the oil blends. But you want to, you know, like one of my mentors a long time ago said the golden rule is a 10 time markup, a 10x markup. So then you'll still be able to like sell at 5x on the wholesale and still, you know, make a good profit. And then the end buyer can turn around and they can sell that product and double their money. So everybody's happy. And so that leaves you enough cushion in there for unforeseen expenses. For when if the business does scale and gets bigger and you have employees, that it's not going to go out of business because it gets too big. So you want to price all your stuff now properly, because later when you go back and you try to change it on your customers, they're not going to be happy and you're going to lose them. Like if you're like, oh, you know, I was selling this lavender oil for $20 and the wholesale's like $12 or whatever, and I typically sell my lavender for $12 wholesale, and they sell it retail for $24. And I'm able to do that because I get in drums. You know, I buy in bulk, and I buy everything in bulk, so I'm able to do that. But you want to be able to make sure your pricing ahead of time includes all the future costs that you're going to have, and includes where you could sell wholesale cases to people and you're still making money. So typically a 6 to 10 time markup, and so like if you had a 6 time markup on a wholesale deal, you would still make a 3x 3x markup on your product. And but if you had it at a 10x, like say like lemon oil or orange oil. Oh, orange oil, you can make a ton of money on orange oil. And these are just examples of how to structure products. I mean, you can be making anything, right? It's the same type of math though. But like oil blends, you can mix like orange and lemon, and these oils are typically less expensive than and then sprays. There's like a lot of profit in sprays because it's mostly alcohol or water with a little bit of essential oil in it.
Left on I-271 Expressway Lane.
And you could typically sell it for like $30 a bottle for some really good spray, and it's just got a little bit of oil in it, and so it's a really good profit. as far as like candles and stuff,
I-271 Expressway lane.
as far as like candles and stuff, it's an okay business, but it's very labor intensive. So a lot, the stuff is heavy, and each, you know, like, it's a lot of steps to make it. The same with soap, and it can be heavy, and there's a lot of steps in making it. But like a product like essential oil in just a bottle, it's, you know, easier to make. You know, salt scrubs are good too, but the shipping can be, you know, kind of heavy. So shipping overseas, you know, if you're using like a certain, like the U.S. Post Office has like flat rate shipping, which is perfect for people in the candle, the salt, the, you know, the soap business where things are heavy. But yeah, that's what I just want to talk about in this lesson is pricing your offer. And the same is for like healing packages or your healings. You want to be sure that you're including enough profit where you're happy as you're fulfilling the order. Because a lot of times, like, you know, somebody tries to get you down on your price, or they're like, oh, you know, so and so is doing it for this much, and then you're like, so you lower your price, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be okay, $75 for the healing instead of $150 or $200, and then they complain. You know, like typically people that ask for lower prices, they might complain a lot, and then you're not happy, you're kind of mad, like, oh man, I still gotta do this work, and they're getting me down on my price, and you know, so you want to be sure that you're making enough money to where you're happy, so you're putting good energy into your stuff. And you want to have your tier pricing, like a single session, say it's like $200 for a single session, but if they buy 4 sessions, maybe it goes down to $175 or $150. And if they want to do like a year, then it might go down a little bit more even. But you're making a lot more money, right? And whatever that lowest tier price is, like say if they buy a year, and typically like on a year, minimum for me is like $7,000-8,000 a year, and that would be 1 session a week, which is basically a long distance session. I'm just using their picture or the name of their project, and that's how I'm doing the healing. I'm not meeting them face to face in person, not necessarily doing like Zooms and stuff, unless you wanted to do that. But I like to be able to work around my own schedule, and I typically do my healings after I meditate. So I like to just have to where I have, they get a session, and then I just work on them. And I don't really tell them when I'm working on them. I just do the work. Because sometimes it's spur of the moment. It's like, oh, I did my meditation and I'm ready to do healing. And that's when I do it. And typically like on these healing packages, you might get some high maintenance people, and they want to be like, oh, you need to tell me when you're working and when you're finished, and what you find and what you scanned ahead of time, and I want a full report, and then I want a full report on what you found, and I'll report on what you're going to do next week. It's like, oh, no. If you want all that, then you got to pay for that, because that's all extra. Because I'm going to do the session, but I'm not going to be like, writing down, oh, your chakra, your crown chakra is this big, and the petals are this, and like that, and you had a cord on your crown, or like you had some negative thought forms and some anger or some stress and worry. Which way? Yeah, and if people want like full reports on this stuff, you'd be like, okay, well that's gonna be 90 is good. Okay, good. Just have to make sure we're on the right route. But yeah, I mean, if they want to pay extra for all that, then because it takes time to do all that paperwork and then like write it all out and organize it and send it to them. And then so now your time on the session just doubled, right? And then if they want a consultation to go with it, right? So they buy a block an hour, like a time from you, but then they want to talk ahead of time or talk afterwards or like be texting you and like emailing you and asking more questions and like, it's like that's not included in a unless they want to pay for that. So you just have to be sure that you don't get taken advantage of on these packages, because like typically like there's a sales process to get people to buy, and you want to have your sales process down to where you can use like a video and maybe some text underneath it, where you're explaining the benefits of the healing and what you're going to do and what's included and all the things that they're going to get in the healing, and you're going to clean this and that, and you're going to clean their organs, and you're going to clean this and whatever. You can put all that in a sales video. That way you don't have to keep explaining it over and over to people. Because that's one thing, like as far as like healing sessions and stuff, I was doing a lot of stuff on the phone, like talking to people that trying to get them signed up. And I was just repeating the same stuff over and over and over again. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm talking to 10 people a day here, and I'm sitting there spending 20, 30 minutes telling them the same thing over and over again. Telling them a little bit about me, and then like about a healing, and about this and that, and Twin Hearts, and Master Choco Sui, and all this stuff, and American Steel Pranic Healing, and Crystal Healing. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, so you can make videos to explain all this stuff, that you don't have to keep doing it. And that way, you don't have to sit there and explain it to them on the phone, spend an hour talking to them just to get them to buy, and then you still have to, you still have to deliver the healing to them. So no matter what you're selling or whatever business you're in, you want to tailor it to your lifestyle and cut out any of the busy work, anything that's not making you money or anything that's low profit. Because some things you might sell, or you might sell every now and then, or you might sell it, but the profit's low. So you want to do the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. 80% of your sales come from 20% of the people you're talking with, but the same with the products too. 80% of your sales typically come from 20% of your products. Like before, I was selling like liquid soap, and maybe I'll bring it back, the liquid soap. But it was like a 16-ounce bottle of liquid soap, and they're heavy, and it's messy to fill. Like to fill these bottles, like liquid soap, it's really messy, and the bottles can leak, and you have to seal them, and then it's heavy on the shipping, and if you miscalculate on the shipping weight, you can end up eating that shipping cost to where you're barely making any money. And so I sold a lot of the soap, and it was quite popular, but I just didn't like to do it. It was just heavy and a lot of work, and so I stopped doing it. And then, same with the bar soap. I was selling like bar soap. I had a wholesale price and a retail price, and my bar soap was very popular. But people would complain about the price. It was like $6 a bar, but it was like a small, like a muffin size, bar. Not like a thick muffin, but like a muffin size bar. But there's no chemicals in it, no synthetic dye, no fake fragrance, no sodium lauryl sulfate. All these bad chemicals. None of that was in there. It was this all natural glycerin soap with shea butter with like lavender and tea tree in it. So very premium soap. But it was like, $6 a bar was kind of expensive. And then if they want to buy a special wholesale bar, like a wholesale package, then I was doing like 3 for $9, right? 3 for $9, and then the shipping was $7. And some of the times, I was only charging like $5 for the shipping, right? And I was selling it for for 14 total. And so, and I only had that 3-time markup on that, and then maybe 6 on the retail. But by the time I sold it to them wholesale and shipped it, I was barely making anything on it. And with the soap, you gotta like put it in like a little bag and wrap it and put a label on it. And so it's a lot of busy work. So this plan ahead, like how much busy work you want to be doing. Because say if I got an order for like, somebody wants 1,000 bars of that soap, oh, okay, I might make 3,000 on that, but that's not the net profit though. But say I would make like 3,000 on it, and they might try to get me down even more. They're like, oh, well, we're buying so much, you need to give it to me for $2 a bar. And in the past, if I needed money, I might be like, okay, I'm still gonna make $1,000 on this deal. I'm gonna do it. But then I'd have to make 1,000 bars of soap. So that would entail hours and hours and hours and hours of work of like making batch after batch after batch. Like like if I'm trying to make it in a pan or like in a pan, I might be able to make like 50 bars every batch, and then I got to pour them in the molds, and I only have a certain amount of molds, and I was using like muffin molds, and the only other way to make it easier is to put it in like a long, like a dish, like a banana bread comes in, like a long, or a loaf of bread. You pour it in there, and then you would have to slice it. And then the slicing part is like also a lot of work. Trying to slice soap, I mean, you can try to do it, but there's a special a special tray for that, for cutting them all even. And then I would still have to wrap them, right? So I have to be like, okay, I do all that work, and I may make $1,000. Is it even worth it, right? And then the shipping on that is going to be, and if I miscalculate on that shipping, then that cuts into my profit. And so you have to decide, how much you want to work. I mean, I could take like a ring, a $3,000 ring, and I don't have to really do anything to it. I don't have to package, make the ring. It's like, yeah, the ring has to be made and stuff, but it's made in the factory, and I'm not the one doing that. But and I would make a nice profit on it, just as much as I would on like a soap deal, but the work is much less, and it ships one little thing in a little box, right? Not like boxes and boxes and boxes of heavy stuff where the guy has to come with a dolly to bring it to your house. So you have to think about what type of business model you want to have. So we're just talking in this coaching session about pricing and business model. All right, we'll see you guys on the next module.